Today will be a day to remember for the rest of your life. The Pro Football Hall of Fame is excited to present the Heart of a Hall of Famer program connected by Extreme Networks. With over 100 Hall of Famers participating, we have reached 47 states and countries all over the world, sharing the message that football is more than a game and can teach Americans important life values like commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and honesty.
But you have to make right decisions even when nobody's watching you.
Well, respect is not just given out. It's not handed out like a brochure. It's earned.
Today, you are presented with an opportunity to meet and learn from one of the greatest football players of all time. But more important than that, the chance to see that their Hall of Fame life wasn't given to them. They didn't roll out the bed great. They put the work in, on the field, in the weight room, in the classroom, in their communities. They made themselves a Hall of Famer on and off the field.
Your feet can't take you where your mind's never been.
Because you can make it, but it's just gonna take a little hard work and some effort and the drive and determination.
And today, you will learn you can do the same thing they did. You don't have to have a gold jacket or a bronze bust to make a difference in the lives of others. It's your decision whether you want to be a successful student, son, daughter, brother, or sister.
If attitudes are contagious, is your attitude worth catching?
It's integrity as well, because when you decide to pursue something and you don't quit, that says a lot about you.
Commitment to excellence. We can all aspire to be the best.
Welcome to a once-in-a-lifetime program, the Heart of a Hall of Famer program, connected by Extreme Networks.
Also, a lot of credit goes to my teammates at the Vikings and also the Seattle Seahawks, and especially my teammates when I first got in the league, such guys as Henry Thomas, Chris Dolman, and Randall McDaniel. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for taking me on your wing and showing me the way.
Minnesota Vikings fans, there was never a time in Minnesota I felt uncomfortable. Based on the teammates I played with, 6 guys in the Hall of Fame, 5 of us played in Minnesota. Randall McDaniel, unbelievable left guard, one of the best human beings you could ever meet.
I would be remiss if I did not mention and thank my wingman. First with the Vikings, Randall McDaniel, who I'm sure we'll all be listening to next year up on this stage.
We all need someone to believe in us, to guide us, to teach us. We need the special people in our lives who help shape the person we choose to become. They're the ones who take the time to see you when you feel invisible. They're the ones who believe in you and teach you to believe in yourself. They're the ones who see the hidden potential and help you discover it. They're the ones who dust you off when you fall and encourage you to give it another try. They're the difference makers in our life. I was extraordinarily blessed to have difference makers at every stage of my life. My hopes today is that every person listening would choose to become a difference maker.
All right, with that, I'd like to welcome everybody back here to the Pro Football Hall of Fame for another edition of the Heart of a Hall of Famer program connected by Extreme Networks. My name is Jake Ray. I'm the Youth Education and Leadership Manager here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and we're super excited to have a very full room of students and teachers today. Our mission here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame is to honor the greatest of the game, to preserve its history, to promote its values, and to celebrate excellence together. And those values we promote are those of commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and honesty, all of which is going to make the gentleman who's going to be sitting right here in this chair a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, but also made him a great member of his community, a great family member, and what you're going to learn made him a pretty good teacher as well. Now, before we introduce our special guest here today, I do have some thank yous I'd like to pass out. First and foremost, I'd like to thank our great partners at Extreme Networks for everything that they've done for us, making this opportunity possible, not only for us at the Hall of Fame, but for all the students we have watching here live and watching us on YouTube. Secondly, I'd like to thank our teachers and administrators, educators, anybody that either brought their students here today or have their classes tuned in online. And lastly, I'd like to thank our students. Without you guys here, this is just me talking to a guy up on stage in front of a bunch of chairs. So we're super excited to have everybody here today. Now, throughout the program, students out here, you're going to have the ability to ask some questions. Now, there were some students pre-selected that have a card that are going to be asking our questions here today. So students with the cards, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say it's time for a question from our students. Just need you to step up to the microphone, state your name, the school you go to, and then go ahead with your question. If you don't have a card and you have a question, find a member of the Hall of Fame staff in the back of the room, run your question by them, and they'll let you know if we'll have some time to fit it in. If you're watching this live on YouTube and you have a question, go ahead and throw that in the comment section in the chat, and we'll do our best to make it a part of the program throughout today. The schools we have represented here today, got a lot of schools. I'm just going to read them off on the list. We've got Conotton Valley, East Canton, Strasburg, Akron-Hoban, Malvern, Shiloh, Westgate, McKinley, and Early College. So we want to thank everybody for being here today. Now, we know you guys are going to take pictures throughout today, whether you're out in the museum or you're in here right now. So if you do take photos, go ahead and post them online. Make sure you tag @ProFootballHOF and @Extreme Networks, and use the hashtag HOF values in your post. Just might be reshared today. So that's enough of me talking. I am now proud to welcome a member of the 1990s All-Decade team, a 12-time Pro Bowler, 9-time All-Pro, had 202 consecutive starts, but most importantly, he's a Hall of Famer, Mr. Randall McDaniel. Step right there.
I'm getting old.
All right. Welcome back to what we like to call your second home here in Canton, Ohio. Always like to ask, and I think it's a cool, relationship that you have with the Hall of Fame, is what's it like to walk in after you get enshrined? The difference of walking in as NFL legend Randall McDaniel versus walking in those doors as Hall of Famer Randall McDaniel.
Oh, God, it's still, to this day, I tell guys that I don't feel like I belong sometimes. All my heroes are in here. The Gale Sayers, the Earl Campbells, the Munozes. All those guys are already in here, and it's like I'm now part of that. So, every time I get a chance to come back, every time I get a chance to walk through those doors, it feels like the first time all over again. Only different today, I didn't make it to the room with all the buffs. I always like to go sit and look at all the buffs of all the history of all the guys that came before me.
You got a pretty important one right here.
That's a scary one right there. Should put my glasses up on. But it's just an honor to come back. Like I said, it feels like the first time every time I come back here.
Awesome.
So I enjoy getting back here.
Awesome. Well, to dive right in here, I want to talk a little bit about those values I mentioned: commitment, integrity, courage, respect, and honesty. Those are our 5 values out of literally thousands that we believe the game of football can teach. But we feel like those 5 are up at the top of as far as importance. Is there one of those that stand out to you more than the others, or do they all kind of work together to make
They are all integrity, commitment, honesty. They all roll into your character, who you are, what makes what you are. If I had to pick one, though, I would say who I had to pick 2: integrity and honesty. Who you are, what you are. Being honest, following through. You got to be honest with yourself. You got to be honest with people, and that forms your character, who you are, makes you what you are today. Like I said, you talk about character. My best example of character, and I don't think I'm the one. I learned the best example of character was from a kid. As you guys don't know, I taught for 20 years in the elementary school, and I learned about character from a 5th grade young man running track and field. One of the best athletes, in my opinion, that I've seen out there. He could do anything. He was probably the only 5th grader I didn't race when I was still in good enough shape to run. And we're doing track and field day where your parents come out and watch you do an event. And this young man, he's winning everything. Everybody knew he was going to win. And then he gets to the race that his best friend is going to finally run in, and he has MS. But he's going to run the 400, and this young man
is in that race, and everybody thinks, well, he's going to smoke everybody. And then you look at him, his character, what he meant. He ran with his buddy the whole time. When his buddy finished last, he finished right there with him, and he was cheering him on for running that race. I mean, you talk about character, and I'm sitting there going, I'm looking at myself because I'm a competitive guy, and I'm thinking, would I have stopped and did that, or would I have ran it, won it, and then waited at the end? And I learned that, no, that is the way you got to do it. So, I mean, from a fifth grade young man teaching me more about character, you got to love that.
Awesome. You know, you played, we mentioned when you walked in 202 consecutive starts in the NFL. And I think it's funny when you ask about those values, the first thing you go to is something outside of the game. So it's cool to see how you take those values and you're able to apply them to your life, you know, outside of football. But looking at the game itself, how did those values help you become the best teammate player that you could be on the field?
I mean, you talk about commitment. As a lineman, it's 5 guys playing as one. We all got to be on the same page. We got to be thinking the same. Say the question again. Gotta start thinking of something else.
The values that we see teaching the game there.
How
did you use those to become the best football player you could be?
I mean, just being your commitment, to follow through, finish what you're doing. I mean, from day one, I was fortunate. I never missed a day of school, ever. All the way till I graduated. So I don't know what happened in college, but but just to finish, I hated not being out there with my teammates. So that commitment to finish what you start, do it with your team, do it with your friends. I do that now to this day. I mean, you tell someone you're going to do something, you honor your word. You treat everybody with respect the way you would like to be treated. Use that every day. I mean, it's just. Football has taught me a lot, and I mean, the platform that it gives us to go out there. I mean, you need to do something with that platform. You're visible for everybody to see. You can sit back and live on your laurels, or you can go back and do something to make the world better. So I choose to go out and do something to make the world better.
And we look, you know, part of our values is the idea of respect, and we know as a player, you know, you obviously respect your team, respect your teammates, respect your opponents outside that 4 to 8 seconds. You know, when it comes to being a member of the Hall of Fame. And for those of you that don't know, every enshrinement week here in Canton, Ohio, there's a luncheon that only Hall of Famers get to go to. No staff, no cameras, no reporters, no nothing. Just anybody who's enshrined into the Hall of Fame that's back in Canton. So when you get into that room, how does that level of respect play? Because you mentioned you're in there with some of your idols.
I'm in there with some of my idols.
And you're in there with defensive linemen that were.
I played against a ton of those guys in that room, and like you said, we may not have gotten along on the field. They may have played for a different team. I mean, I see the Packers stuff sitting back there, and I played against a lot of guys with the Packers, which I didn't like, but I respected what they did. And that's what it is. We get in that room, we tell the stories, we talk about things and what the Hall means to us, but I respect what that person has done, what he's doing. All else is forgotten. I mean, yeah, you may have got me on this play when we played, I may have got you on that one, but I still respect it. Even if we have difference of opinion, you got to respect what the man has done.
So I got to ask, the first time you get to go into that room, was there somebody you have pointed out, like, I got to go talk to sit down and introduce myself to this guy?
I wrote, when I was in 8th grade, I wrote a paper about Gale Sayers. That was my guy. And I'm sitting at the table with Taylor, Glenn Barney, and all these other great Hall of Famers, and I get tapped on the shoulder, and it's Gale Sayers. And I acted like a little kid. Oh my God, Gale Sayers is sitting there, and I went nuts. I literally put him in a headlock to take a selfie of him. And then I kept doing that, and I finally went, look, I'm gonna leave the table for a brief moment, and then I'm gonna calm down, and I'll come back, and I'll be just my normal self. I walked away for about 5 minutes and came back still the same. I mean, it was Gale Sayers. But to the point where, from that point on, I rode in the parade with Gale Sayers. I was in that first wave. We signed autographs together all the time. Whatever Gale was doing, we got together, and formed a good friendship before he passed away. So that, cool. I mean, like I said, that's my hero right there. Yeah.
It's very cool to see what the game of football does and how it can impact even some of the best to ever play the game. It just shows us that how cool the game is.
I still think it was a lot of smoke and mirrors with me. So.
Well, you got a jacket, so whatever you did, it worked.
I had a lot of fun.
Awesome. All right, we're going to take a question from some of our students in the back. So again, as I said at the beginning, go up, state your name, the school you go to, and then go ahead with your question.
I'm Magnus Sanders from Kanawha Valley. My question is, how did you take the lessons you learned from playing football and apply them to your own life?
So using some of those values we talked about, taking them from the game of football and then applying them to being a family member, a member of your community, a teacher.
Well, like I said, I walked straight from the football field right into the classroom. So that commitment to doing things the right way, getting things done. I did the same thing with me, and I started in 3rd grade. So all these kids know Mr. McDaniel's a stickler for following the rules, a stickler for doing things right. Consequence if you don't and you choose to do something different. But I took things on the field like finishing your job, put that extra work in. If you tell someone to be honest about something, that I'm going to get this done, I'm going to get it done. If I say I'm going to be there in the morning and meet you before school starts so we can get that work done, then I will be there. I will not. And that was the same. That's football. When they said practice starts at 8 o'clock, or the meeting started at 8, you walked in at 7:30. Because if you walked in at 5 minutes till, you were late. I took those same things right into everything I do in life. Still do it now. I'm always, your job is your job. Your word is your word, and who you are. And if you choose not to be responsible for doing those things, that's a sad thing. So I always believe in getting those things done at all times.
Awesome. I want to take a little bit of a pivot here. Normally we're trying to influence the students here, but you have the unique ability and unique circumstance of being a teacher. So this is for all the teachers in the room. Looking back on your career, how is important, you've seen your legacy grow as a football player, but to see your legacy grow as a teacher and that impact you have on students, for a student like that one you had there in 5th grade to come back 10 years down the road and say, hey, Mr. McDaniel, you really influenced my life. How is it important for the teachers to realize that they are leaving a huge impact on the students?
You don't even realize when you're doing that sometimes. I figured the best way I can honor my teachers, the people that made a difference in my life. The year I got into the Hall of Fame, my presenter was Mr. Fulton. We called him OK Fulton. He met me when I was in 8th grade. He was the athletic director, assistant principal in the high school, came over and met me in 8th grade. And basically said he wanted to get to know the young man, not the athlete. And then he followed me around through all the things I did from high school. I come to play football, and then when I went to college, he was like, big man, you can do a lot of things. Football's going to take you places. And I would always come back and talk to the high school. And then when I went into the pros, and he was there. When I got inducted into the Ring of Honor in the Vikings, he came and spoke. And I thought, how else can you let him know how much he meant to me and what he did for me? Was when I got inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, he was my presenter. So that week we rode around and we did everything together. And Mr. Fulton was the man that, like I said, were the first true teachers in high school. I had a 3rd grade teacher, Mrs. Powell, who passed away. But out of all the people, I knew who was going to present me if it's ever happened, and Mr. Fulton was the one that made that difference in my life. And, like I said, they showed that thing. I talk about difference makers in your life. Mr. Fulton was mine. And I did. When you're in school, you can't go up and tell the teacher, hey, man, I appreciate what you're doing because you got that. I'm not going to say it. But yeah, every day after that, when I left high school, I was back letting him know what he did for me. I appreciated him showing me. It was me. I didn't back down from anything. And at one moment in my life, I got in a little trouble. I used to fight. And I knew the rules, go home first, then go fight. And Mr. Fulton showed up on my side of town. I'm like, oh man, you're not gonna make it over here. And he sat there at this damn park with me till midnight. Like, no, Randall, this is what you gotta do. You gotta do the right thing here. And that was Mr. Fulton. He was a big difference in my life. And like I said, when he passed away, I spoke at the funeral. And he told me that before he passed. You big man, you're gonna speak, and just say what you need to say. And I'm like, okay, I can do that for you, Mr. Fulton.
Awesome. So, everybody out there, teachers watching, teachers in the room, the impact's there, and that's coming from a guy who's one of the best 371 football players of all time. So, we're going to take another question from our students there in the back. So, again, state your name, the school you go to, and then go ahead with your question.
I'm Mason Stein from Charlotte Middle School, and I was wondering what was your welcome to the NFL morning?
You mean like when I first started?
What's that welcome like? All right, this is a little bit different than college.
I always thought I was going to play right away, but they told me that as a rookie, no rookie's ever going to start for the Minnesota Vikings. So my welcome to moment, but things changed around the second game of the year. So I'm playing New England Patriots, and I get that opportunity, and my welcome to NFL moment was in the middle of that game. I mean, I think I'm playing great. Garen Varus was the defensive tackle in front of me, and I had just picked him up and planted him on the ground. And then I turned to look down the field, and we'd thrown an interception. And I'm like, I'm quick. I ran a 4.5 40 for a lineman. Let me go make this tackle. And I thought, let me get the angle to make this tackle. And the last second, I went, The guy I left on the field was the guy ear-holing me in the side of my helmet. And I'm like, oh my God. That was my welcome to the NFL, because the next day at practice, watching that film over and over, John Michaels, my line coach, kept running it over. This is what dumb rookies do and mistakes they make. And he played that over about 20 times. But that was my welcome to the NFL moment, where I realized I am now actually here. No one would ever ear-hole me ever again. I will remember where I leave the bodies before I do something else. So, but yeah, that was a big moment right there. And I kind of knew that at that point I was in to go.
So we look at, you talk about sitting in that room with all the Hall of Famers. Was there a moment where an eventual Hall of Famer you're now teammates with was across the line from you that you were like maybe looked up to, or you knew that they were going to be in the Hall of Fame one day? What was that moment for you, and was there a little extra preparation leading into that week?
That I knew I was going to be? That we have?
Yeah.
I mean, there was one guy, he's not in the Hall. Jerome Brown passed away back in the day, but that was probably the one guy that used to, I go, if I can do well against him, I know I'm going to do well. And we would go back, fighting back and forth. But if you want to look at the current player to let me know that I got an opportunity to be in the Hall, I mean, I'll be honest. You had John Randall on the film coming. That was my teammate for 10 years. Chris Dolman also was, when I first got there, I had to go against him in practice. Randy Moss, Chris Carter, we were all teammates. The hardest game I ever played was to practice with John Randall for 10 years. It was game mode every day in practice. And I could never tell him how good he was, because if he knew, then it was going to be rougher on me in practice. But we both went against each other every day.
Did he talk as much trash as he did to everybody else?
Johnny never stops talking. Even on the golf course now today, he's still talking the trash the same way. I mean, we go back and forth. But like I said, when I retired, I called my folks first. I called my friends, let them know. And the first player I let know was John Randall. And I wanted to thank him for everything he ever did for me on that field. And it was kind of that, game day was easy. I would tell D linemen when I played against them, and I would smile and laugh when the game started. And they're like, what's so funny? And I go, you're not John Randall. So here we go.
All right, we're going to go back to another question from our students. Again, students, take advantage of this opportunity. You're not going to get this every day. So student, go ahead with your name, the school you go to, and then go ahead and ask your question.
I'm Sean from Charlotte Middle School. And what was one moment in your life when your character was tested? How did you get through that?
One moment in my life when my character was tested. Wow. Young. It happened when I was young, 8th grade. I have a lot of buddies that I say were better athletes than me, better players than me. All grew up on the same side of town, and I think where my character was tested that day was, I'm the one kid out of Avondale from my side of town that made it out of there. They decided to rob this house that morning, and I'm standing there with them, and they want me to stay and do it with them also. And I'm like, look, man, I got a lot of things going on that I'm enjoying with where my life is at. And I was thinking about what my dad always said in the back of his mind: if you get in trouble and you know you're the one that screwed up, don't call me. He goes, but if you do get in trouble and you didn't screw up, that's your call. But I was thinking, my dad is in my head, and I'm like, yeah. And I looked at my buddies, I go, no, man, I got to go. And I know everybody worried about, oh, they're going to think you're not cool, you're this, you're that. I'm like, I got to do the right thing. And I got plans on things I want to do later in life, so me going in that house with you guys is not what I'm going to do. And I went to school, and they ended up going to jail that same day. They got caught coming in the house. So that was a big moment when my character was tested big time at that point, where I decided that the right thing to do is just to keep going and let them do what they're going to do, but I'm just going to keep going and do what I need to do for myself.
Now, along those same lines, obviously your career, takes off. You go to college, you get into the NFL, and obviously, with fame and that comes a lot of, struggle with relationships that you already previously had built. So with all of this success that you had, how did it change the relationships that you had? Did you have more moments where you had the, hey guys, I got to step away. This isn't the right move for me?
I guess being a lineman is a little different. No one really knows who you are until you get the holding call or some penalty on you. So my buddies that I had, we're still good friends. I mean, and everybody assumes that you're playing sports, you got all these friends. I had a group of guys that I grew up with at my side of town that I did stuff with. I had a group from high school, I had a group from college, and we all still get together now today. There was no chance in hell that I was going to change with them busting my. They were on me still to this day. If you could start getting the big head, they were the first ones to pop the pin in there. My wife, who I met in college, my sophomore year, I mean, oh my God, there was no way I was going to get a big head. My mom, I mean, the day I got into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, I called my mom to let her know I'm on hold with Joe Horgan, and I'm trying to tell her, Mom, I'm in and all this, and I'm all excited. And she's like, oh, that's great, baby, but so-and-so broke her hip down the other day. She wants to talk about what's going on in the neighborhood. So me ever changing from who I was or what I was going to be, family and friends made sure that never happened. And that's not who I am. I appreciate the opportunities I have that football afforded me. And like I said, I'm always looking for a way to give back and do better.
Now, we've mentioned high school a few times. And there was a little discrepancy about this next question.
Yeah, it was.
Now, Wikipedia says you ran a 4.6 40, but we found out from you that you say it was 4.5.
It was a 4.5.
And that's 40. A lot of difference. So, a 4.5 40, and I got some other times. A 10.6 in the 100-meter dash, and a 50 in the 400-meter dash.
Yes.
That's fast.
That's good.
Hey. Do you think in today's game you could play tight end?
I actually started as a tight end. This is me being confident. What I can do. Yeah, I think I could play. If the body was willing, yes. The difference is I think I'd be a better blocker though too. I mean, it's all about catching the ball, receiving it. You got to block a little bit, a little zone here and there. But yeah, like I said from the beginning, I just wanted to play. So when they gave me that opportunity in college, during the bye week of my freshman year, and I didn't think I was getting a fair shot at tight end. And I told the coach, I just want to play. So is that tryout for the guard spot really a tryout for anyone? And they're like, yeah. So, I mean, take off 88, put on 62, practice for 8 days, and then started against Oregon State coming out of the bye week. I mean, yeah, so yeah, pretty confident in what I can do. Yeah, I think I can play tight end.
All right.
Because any position, I mean, I played basketball. I mean, I was drafted, I was recruited more for basketball than it was football. And then, like I said, you mentioned the 40 times and all that. I mean, and I was telling him earlier, the only reason I lost that 100 meters in the state was because my shoe blew out on me and I finished fourth. I mean, and then I was 235 pounds running 100 meters, 200 meters, anchoring the 4x100, and then throwing shot and disc as well. So my mom always said that. She goes, she basically put me in whatever sport it was, and she never worried about me. She just went, you're going to go play baseball now. You're going to go do this now, which I think helped make me the athlete and the person I am today because I did a little bit of everything. So, yeah, the tight end spot. I mean, I don't know if you can see my hands. Everybody would look at these hands going, ain't no way you can catch the ball with my hands like this. But I still think I can.
Awesome. All right, guys, we're going to take the next question from our students. Just a reminder, we got some awesome equipment up here. So with the crinkle of the papers, the little whispers and everything, this mic is going to pick them up and everybody live stream is going to hear you. So make sure you guys are paying really close attention to what our special guest is saying here today, because there's a lot of great information you're going to be able to take back to the classroom. So with that, we're going to go to our next question. Go ahead with your name, the school you go to, and then go ahead with your question.
Zach Putnam, Mountain Valley. Is there a player in the game today that you think reminds you of the way you played?
Player in today's game.
Oh, I'm horrible, man. You would throw that at me right now, wouldn't you? I'm going to be honest. I have a hard time watching football now today. I still break it down as though I was going to be playing. I'm very critical. I'm looking at hand placement, footwork, everything. I'm looking at down and distance. And I mean, Garrisol. If I have to choose, I'm a homer too, so I'll stick with the Vikings. The young man with the Minnesota Vikings, I like where he's going, where he can go. I like the potential that's there. And they're probably tired of seeing me come out to practice sometimes because all I do is stand there and watch the offensive line and D-line. And if I see something before they see it, they know that I've seen it, and they're all looking at me because I may have said something out loud. And I'm going, hey, that's just me. But yeah, Christian Garrisol, I think that might be, I like the tenacity, the way he plays, the way he attacks the game, and so that would be the closest. You're going to make me go home and watch a little more and start learning names of people now, aren't you?
How is it to have a relationship playing so long for one organization in Minnesota and then, a couple years in Tampa Bay before you retired? What is that relationship like with the team now? Obviously, there's been waves and waves of more players come through the organization, but how cool is it to build a relationship with an entire organization and new owners as they come in, being a legend that played for the team?
Like I said, they wish I would come around more often. Like I said, when I stopped playing football, I went straight into teaching. And so no one in the football world saw me for 5 years. I didn't even show up at anything for 5 years. And then finally I started coming back, and they still want me to come back. But the relationships are great. People around there, Dennis Ryan, the equipment guy, just retired this last year after 40 plus years. He was there before I got there. He was there with me the whole time. It's not like I didn't come around. I would sneak in the back door off the loading dock, and Dennis would let me in. I'd get my new workout gear for the Vikings, updated gear, and I'd take that home. And then by the time the coaches found out I was there, I was slipping out the back door again. But there's guys in that front office that were there before. My coaches that I had are all gone. Paul Wiggins is still there. I'm learning the new coaches, and there are some players there or coaches there that I played against. So, I'm around there, and it's great that the Wills, they've done such a great job making you feel welcome. But they do say it to me, we wish you would come around even more, and I'm like, me, I'm going to say it out loud if I see something, and they're like, yeah, we know, Randall, but they still want me around there. So,
very cool.
But yeah,
Very cool.
This is great.
We're going to take another question from our students in the back, so go ahead and state your name, the school you go to, and then go ahead with your question.
Can you say that again, just a little slower?
Who influenced you the most in your life, and how or why did that person do it?
Biggest influence in your life?
Well, like I said, other than my mom and dad, the close people, I was talking about him earlier, Mr. Fulton. Mr. Fulton was the one that influenced me. He was the first person who said that I was going to go join the military. I was going to be a Marine like my uncle. I thought that's the only way you're going to get out of Avondale, where I was growing up. And Mr. Fulton, like I said, from that point on, when he came into my life in 8th grade, kept saying sports can take you other places. It can get you out of Avondale. It'll give you an opportunity to better your family. Like I said, Mr. Fulton and I, from that point on, like I said, up until he passed away, every time we go to when they had the NCAA tournament out in Arizona and Phoenix, he and I got tickets, and he and I are sitting there. He's 86 years old, and Mr. Fulton and I are there. We wanted to go eat lunch around town, and the person that influenced me the most was Mr. Fulton. So, he loved Jersey Mike's, so we sat in Jersey Mike's. I would show up in my car, I'd grab his pickup truck, and off we would go. He was that person for me that made that big influence, and like I said, he was probably the one reason I got into teaching, because of him. He was my difference maker, so I figured I needed to honor him in that way and do the same thing and follow that same path.
Awesome. All right, we're going to take another student there in the back, so go ahead and get work your way back to the microphone there. State your name, the school you go to, and then go ahead with your question.
If you could have played with another Hall of Famer of your choice, who would you choose?
If you played with another
If I could
Hall of
if
Famer.
to choose to play with another Hall of Famer, who would I choose? I played with a bunch of guys on my team. They're all Hall of Famers, which I don't think people get that opportunity to have that many guys you actually play with that would get into the Hall of Fame. But like I said earlier, I wrote a paper on Gale Sayers. Who do you think I want to block for? If I can go back and play for Gale Sayers, God, that would be just, yeah. I don't know. Play for him with Gale Sayers, present day when I played, because I don't want to go out and play in the fields that they had to play on back in the day, and wear those spikes that were that long. And I'm not sure how I would have done with the head slaps with the cats, but I'm pretty sure that I know I would love, if I could play with any of them, Gale Sayers would be one guy that I would love to play with and have that opportunity to block for him.
What was it about Gale Sayers? Obviously, you've now mentioned him 3 or 4 times here today. What was it about? Was it his playing style? Were you a Bears fan, or
I wasn't even a Bears fan.
What was it about Gale
just,
Sayers?
It was the style that he running, what he did in that short amount of time, what he accomplished. And then you watch the movie Brian saw, the tearjerker right there, and you see that. But like I said, I mean, I was 8th grade when and then at that point, every boy wants to be a running back too. So if you're going to be a running back, you pick from the best, and Gale Sayers was the one with Kansas Comet. Oh, you know, that's, yeah. But yeah, I don't know if that's mean. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, we're going to go with another question in the back. So go ahead and state your name, the school you go to, and then go ahead with your question.
I'm Caleb from Charlotte Middle School. My question is, besides being selected for the Hall of Fame, what do you consider your greatest accomplishment and why?
What do I consider my greatest accomplishment and why? I promised my mom, being the first one in my family to go to college, that I was going to get my degree and graduate for her, and I did. So that, I would say that. My wife would say marrying her would be my biggest accomplishment, but you know, the college degree came first. But no, I mean, my biggest accomplishment was it was graduating from Arizona State. I mean, how do you not like that? Being the first one in my family also to do it, and then, like I said, I had a lot of people thinking that Randall's not, he plays sports very well, but he's not going to do well in school, so he'll be back home in Avondale after a year. And so another challenge, and I'm like, and I'm not going to prove them right, I'm going to prove them wrong. But yeah, that's my accomplishment. I mean, the thing you might learn about me, most of my biggest accomplishments will not be anything about football or sports. It's the other little things in life for me. Like I said, I would say giving back to the community is also a big accomplishment too. So I'm still very active in the community. So, but yeah, graduating and getting my degree was a big accomplishment for me.
Talked about, going to Arizona State to play football. Can we do a little comparison of what recruiting was like when you went to college versus what recruiting like is today, and why ultimately was Arizona State the destination for you?
That was easy. I mean, well, you all know I'm from Arizona. There's 2 universities, and I always say it's 1, but there's 2 universities in the state of Arizona. Arizona State, the Sun Devils, thank you, and then that junior college down south, Arizona Wildcats. You're going to pick one or the other. You're not going to, I like both of them. And then also a person in the Hall of Fame here. He just passed away, Curly Cope. Grew up in Yuma, Arizona. I knew who he was. He went to Arizona State. He was an All-American in football. He was an All-American in wrestling. Won the NCAA wrestling championship his senior year. And I met Curly because of the alumni thing through Arizona State, and we used to go back and forth. Who was the better athlete in the state of Arizona, Curly or me? And we went back and forth flopping. But that was an easy decision. I was always going to go to Arizona State if I got that opportunity. Yeah. But recruiting was different back then. I mean, you were allowed to visit 5 schools, and it was make your choice. I only took 3 visits for football. I did the rest in basketball. But Arizona State, I mean, and I'm from there. I mean, I didn't want to go far away from home. I wanted my folks to be able to see me play. Yeah. But yeah, it's always Arizona State. Man. I mean, in my bag out upstairs, there's Arizona State workout gear. So I'm a Sun Devil through and through.
Awesome.
I always knew I was going to be
awesome. All right, we're going to head with another question. So go ahead and state your name and school you go to, and then go ahead with your question.
Cash, Westgate Middle School. And how were you able to handle the spotlight and remain humble throughout your time in the NFL?
Like I said earlier, I mean, being an offensive lineman, I mean, we're at the bottom of the totem pole. Everybody loves us when no one notices who we are. I say this about teachers still. So being an offensive lineman, you're at the lunch pail bunch, you go to work, you do your job, you do everything correctly, and the only time people notice you is when you make a mistake. You get the holding flag. It's the same with you teachers, which I have a ton of respect for. I mean, you do your job every day, you wear different hats for the kids in the school, and no one gives you the credit that you have for what you do until something goes wrong, and then they want to jump on all the teachers like, oh, look what they did wrong. But that's left out part of this question. What part did I not answer for you?
So remaining humble and
through
all the success, the idea of humility that comes with all the awards.
So like I said, you don't become an lineman for the notoriety. You like I said, all I wanted to do was play and contribute to the team. So the remaining humble. You wouldn't think I was humble if you and I were playing against each other in a sport. But the moment I come off the field, it's not about what I was just doing in the field. It's about hanging out with my friends and family. And like I said, my family still to this day, they, people might think that they don't like me because they'll be picking on me out in public saying things. Everybody's like, oh my God, you're saying that about him? And then you turn around and I'm like, well, I've known him for 40 years. He knows everything about me. My best friend from college, he was a fullback there, Darren Tupper. And God, I've taken him just about everywhere with me on trips, my bucket list courses. And he will make comments and people will look like you're friends. But it keeps you grounded. It keeps you who you are. And my friends are always the first one to, if I started to change or do something differently, they would question it. That's not you. What are you trying to be? And I'm like, I was just trying something different with you today. But that's kind of how family and close friends like that keep me humble.
Awesome. All right. Want to jump into today's NFL a little bit. Obviously, Vikings have gone through some injuries, losing Jefferson and Cousins a few weeks ago, but they bring this Josh Dobbs guy in a couple days ago, and they go out and have a huge comeback win on Sunday. For a Viking legend and a Vikings fan, watching that comeback, what is that like for you as more as a fan than as somebody who played with the organization?
That was great to see. The Vikings have gotten on a roll now, 5 in a row now? God, finally, I'm happy with that. I got a little nervous, though, before the comeback. They got Hall in there, the quarterback, and then he tucks the ball and runs down on the goal line. And I'm sitting there going, just slide. And he thinks he's in college all over. He's going to run through these guys. You can't do that. And then he's out, and then Hall comes in. And I'm like, he hasn't even learned the offense yet. But he's played in the NFL. Mm-hmm. He's done it. So he knows the expectations of him. So to watch him pull that comeback and do what he did, I couldn't believe it, but I was glad for him. Like I said, I'm looking for bigger and better things from him from this point on, but it's always nice to see the Vikings come back and do that. I on the golf course when they beat Buffalo like that last year, and everybody goes, Randall, you got to hit your shot. And I got my phone and I'm watching the game, and I'm like, no, did you see the catch Jefferson just made? But yeah, it's always, like I said, I enjoy watching my team play.
Awesome.
Yeah. I'm, like I said, Minnesota Vikings, no matter what, I'm going to always root for them. And I always want to see them do well.
Awesome. All right, we got some more questions in the back, so go ahead and state your name, the school you go to, and then go with your question.
I'm Mason Reinhardt from East End, and when adversity struck, where did you go to regain your confidence?
So you go through some adversity. Was there a person, a teammate, family member that that kind of that first phone call, first reach out when that happens?
For football, you said, in sports? Mm-hmm. I don't know if it was truly adversity. I was fortunate, but if I had questions about what I thought my game should be, and I'll be honest, my first line coach, John Michaels, when they released him and let him go, I would still get film sent to him. Hey, Johnny, can you look at this and tell me what you think? Here's what I think's going on this. I'll be honest, I was a perfectionist what I did on the football field. Everything had to be right. I never was going to grade out 100%, but I wasn't ever going to grade 95% or less. If I ever hit 95, I thought something was wrong. That's just me. And I was like, hey, Johnny, I got film on the way. Tell me what you think. Tell me what's going on. We need to fix this now. So if I was ever felt like I was struggling, it was John Michaels. I call him up. Like I said, the first 5 minutes of the conversation, he'd chew me out like old days. And then he asked how I was doing. And then he goes, what's your questions now, Randall? And then we would go over what I need to talk to him about. Like I said, he's passed away now, but his wife, Ann, and I still talk every week just to keep up and stuff. So that was who I would go to at all times. Didn't have a player. I played next to Jeff Christie all those years. I played next to Loudermilk for a ton of years. We would talk about things that happened, but it was never, okay, I need to fix this. I always felt like, all right, you're supposed to be the leader on this line, so you should be helping everyone else. But we would do the what-if game. What if this happens in a game? What if this happens? And then we go through it up until a point, and then on Friday I told him no more what ifs, because we don't know it by now. We're not going to know it at all. So.
Now, I'm sure you sent some film, but you probably had obviously some good plays in that film that you sent. Is there a block that sticks out to you as maybe one of your favorites, or the one that maybe paved the way for a game-winning touchdown, or a pass protection where there was a Hail Mary that won the game? Was there anything that stands out to you as like, that was my favorite block of my career?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I pick on the Bears a lot, but 'cause I like the Bears. But fellow Hall of Famer, Mike Singletary, Monday Night Football. I wasn't supposed to play. I had sprained my knee that week, but they gave me, before the game, we're going to test it out, and if you think you can go, we'll let you go. I mean, Adam Shriver practiced all week long, and he's got his family in Chicago, and he's ready to play this game. And I get dressed to go through pregame to see if I'm going to play or not. And as soon as I put everything on, I looked at him and said, "Hey, Adam, I'm sorry, but I'm playing." So Monday night game, I played fullback on short yards and goal line. I did that for the first 9 years in the league. So we get down on the 20-yard line. It's 3rd and 1, and we got the jumbo package in, and Singletary is filling the hole. And here I come, fullback. Terry is right behind me, my running back, and we meet in the hole, and I send him out 5 yards into the air and down on his back. And I stand over and do a few fist pumps, and I leave the field after that. And it started third quarter, but that block on him, I think they showed that when I got into the Hall of Fame. I think they showed that when I got in some other thing. And Singletary swears that he had his foot up off the ground, and that's why I got him. And he is correct. His foot was up off the ground. What everybody forgets is I did run that 4.5 40, and I didn't go full speed.
Not 4.6. 4.5.
And I never went full speed coming out of the backfield. I always went 3/4 to make sure that linebacker was going to come to me. And at the last second, I turned it on and catch him before he was ready. So he could be correct. I was going about 4.7 at that point, and when I saw him truly commit to the hole, I turned it on, lowered my hips, and hit on the rise and just launched. And then, like I said, Adam had practiced all week long. We had secured the game at that point, so there was still 10 minutes left in the third quarter, and I jogged off the field. I go, "Hey, man, go finish the game." And so, but that block on Singletary, it still stands out.
Now, was that conversation had in that room with all the Hall of Famers? Did you make sure to bring that up to him every time you see him?
You don't even have to bring it up. I think we look at each other, and there's a look like, you know what I did. But I would say that Singletary was one of the ones that my first few years in the league, and we used to run traps with the Vikings, so the quick traps, and that down tackle would be coming hard, and I had to root him out of there on that. And Singletary was the only one that could diagnose that play before we even ran it. I mean, we break the huddle, and he starts yelling, "Trap, trap, trap, McMichaels," and he would tell McMichaels that I was going to trap him, and I'm like, God, it's bad enough that I'm trapping him, but when he knows I'm coming, that means he's just going to be turning and coming right at me off the start. But Singletary would diagnose it every time. It drove me nuts. So I guess that's why that block on him kind of paid back for all
right.
Things, so.
I got another question in the back. Go ahead with state your name, the school you go to, and then go with your question.
My name is Taylor Anger, and I'm from West Cape Middle School, and my question is, what does it mean to you to be considered one of the greatest offensive linemen in the history of the NFL?
One of the greatest offensive linemen in the history of the NFL? If you ask Mr. D, my 5th grade teacher at my school that I'm at, I am number 2. He's a big New England Patriots fan, and every time I walk into his classroom to grab a group of kids out of his classroom, he tells the class, he stops and, "Hey, class, this is the number 2 best guard to ever play in the NFL." And number 1 would be John Hanna, because he's a big Patriots fan. So it wasn't like to be one of the greatest. Like I said, I still think that I was just fortunate to do what I did in this game. There's a lot of guys that are great. I mean, if you're in the Hall, you're all great players. So, but it's good bragging rights when I'm talking with all my college buddies and former teammates when they start talking about, "Well, I would have done this." I'm like, hey.
I did.
Yeah, so.
Going back through your career, playing with all those guys, what's it mean to, you heard Chris Carter say it in the intro there, to have 6 players, all from the same team. Did you guys have a feeling that was going to happen? Did you know, all right, John Randall, he's good. Randall McDaniel, good. Chris Carter, good. Randy Moss, good. Did you know that eventually everybody was going to end up right here in Canton?
I mean, I never looked at it, we were all going to end up here. I think maybe once, for Johnny and I, and also Cortez Kennedy. In '96, we were playing the Seahawks here for the Hall of Fame game. And the three of us, Cortez, Johnny, and myself, all took a photo together. And then we sent it to each other to get signed throughout the years. And then fast forward to 2009, I go into the Hall. 2010, Johnny goes in, and I think 2013, 2012, Cortez goes in. I mean, like I said, I was fortunate to play with the guys that I played with. I mean, like I said, Dolman, my first introduction, blocking a lineman when I came in. Zimmerman right next to me telling me, you're going to do it my way until you can do it better. You know, I'm not going to argue. He was Offensive Player of the Year, or Lineman of the Year, so it's like if he says do it his way, I'm going to do it his way. No, those guys are, I mean, I learned from them. They set the standards, they set the bar up here, what I wanted to reach, just to be close to what they were going to be. And like I said, it took, 5 years before I finally told Zimmerman, hey, I want to do it a different way on this block. And he's like, whatever you want. But no, I think, I mean, I was fortunate to have that. I mean, Johnny and I still do stuff together today. And like I said, I couldn't tell him when we played how good he was. But every day, every time we get together, people will say, who's the toughest D-lineman you ever played against? I had him every day in practice. I mean, what he did for my career, what he did for me on that football field was just, you know, and yeah, I mean, I've been very fortunate. I mean, hell, I even got to play against Warren Sapp, and I like using Johnny against Warren Sapp all the time, because I always, when I was his teammate, I'm like, oh, you know John Randall, which would set him off and get him going. But I mean, like I said, I was fortunate to play against some great guys along the way that all ended up in the Hall. And like I said, you know they're great players when you're playing against them. So when you're playing against some guy great, what do you want to do? You want to be the guy that shuts them down and stops them. I did pride myself on that. The coaches, we have a good interior lineman or someone, and they're like, well, we may have to slide and double them. And I go, Coach, did I ask for help? I go, I don't need help. Just let me do my job. I go, if I need help, I'll let you know. And so they never, ever would ask to say, well, we're going to be doubling with Randall. Nope, Randall's on his own. He's fine. And I like it that way. It's that competition, one-on-one inside. I mean, like I said, by the end of the game, I always knew if we ran 75 plays, 80 plays, I may have screwed up on 3 or 4. But those other ones, those guys, same way when I lost. If we were losing and the team was doing well and they were all celebrating on the other side, I would look at the guy that I was going against. I go, you can't celebrate. Because you know what's happening to you in this game. They're going to watch the film and everybody's playing great. Those 10 guys are playing great. You getting your ass handed to you. And he would look and he's like, yeah, I go, yeah, you. But you're a team, so you take the chewing out the next day, but that's just me. So I was very fortunate that I got to play against some greats in my time. And like I said, you play against the best players in the league. Your game either has to rise up and meet that challenge, that level, or you're not going to be around there very long.
Yeah. All right, got time for just one more student question in the back, and then we're going to wrap it up. So go ahead, state your name, the school you go to, and then go ahead with your question.
That play and the excitement of scoring as an offensive line.
Yeah, you're talking about the Detroit game when we played Detroit when I caught a touchdown. I'll be honest, I mean, my first touchdown, I look at the Packer gentleman back here, was in the Pro Bowl. First lineman ever scored a touchdown in the Pro Bowl. And the person that threw me that touchdown was Brett Favre. Yeah, and I think I was just as excited then as I was when I got the one from Sean King in Tampa Bay. The one from Brett Favre, I scored the touchdown on a 5-yard pass, had to turn it up and run it in. And I ran straight into the locker room and put the ball away at the Pro Bowl. And then I came back out. The one with Sean King, that scoring that touchdown was the same way. I mean, I played fullback on short yardage. They called that play. I'm running at the linebacker to block him. He drops down because he knows what's going to happen to him, and then I run right by him. And I turn around and Sean throws the ball, up above and I'm like, I got these lineman pads on, and you want me to reach up and get this? And I did, pulled it in, and then all the linemen jumped on top. They're like, hey.
One lineman scores. Every lineman scores.
One lineman scores, we all score, and I was on the bottom of a pile, but it was just a great feeling. To be honest, in that game, and I'll wrap it up, I should have had 3 touchdowns that game. because they called the play again when we got down there, and the second time the linebacker dove out and barely touched the ball, which I ended up dropping. And then the third time we run it again, I run by him, and the kid, it knows his speed, jumps on my back, tackles me for pass interference. Yeah, what a thrill for me. But I'll be honest, running over Singletary was a lot better than catching a touchdown. So
they knew you were a threat coming out of the backfield. They had to stop it.
Yeah, I mean, blazing speed, these great-looking hands here, yeah.
So before we wrap up today, I do want to say thank you so much for giving time out of your schedule to come here, especially to come to Canton, your second home. We are forever grateful for you doing this for us today, giving the students here the opportunity to hear from yourself about all the great knowledge that you've had and learned from the game. So the last question we want to ask, and this is how we wrap up every program, is we've said a lot of great things today. I'm sure there's things in here students, teachers are going to take away, but if there's one thing that you want them to remember, that one nugget of information, that one idea, something we talked about already, maybe you haven't, what's that one thing you want everybody to walk out the doors with today?
Oh, wow. I would say just be true to yourself. I mean, everybody always says that. I always say this, football is my same saying. Do what's right, not what's easy. So I would give you that. Do the things that are going to make your life and other people's lives around you a lot better. Be willing to help someone else who's struggling. Treat everybody equally. Don't look down on someone because they're different. That's what makes us great. We're all different. We learn from each other. So say just treat everybody else with respect along the way. And that's kind of how I live my life too as well. And it's a simple thing to do, is just treat everybody like the way you would like to be treated.
All right, with that, we're going to wrap up this installment of the Pro Football Hall of Fame's Heart of the Hall of Famer series, connected by Extreme Network with Randall McDaniel. Standing up. To all of our students who came here today, everybody that watched us online, thank you so much, and we hope to see you back here for another one. Thank you, everybody.